What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Espresso and welcome back to another video here today on the channel. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at something actually quite cool that is going on within the zombies world as of right now. For those of you guys that don't know, there is the Dark Horse comic series for Call of Duty Zombies, and the second issue actually just released today. And in this was actually something very cool. If you guys have not read the comics, I highly suggest them. Both of them are awesome. It does a little bit of a job explaining what the transit crew went through, and in the process tries to fill up some of the holes that are in the story with this to just create the universe of zombies and solidify it. But the first two issues are absolutely fantastic. I won't spoil anything here for you guys unless you want me to do something on it. But one thing that I really wanted to touch on was at the very end of the second issue, once again the one that released today, is a brand new loading screen for Ascension. Now, this isn't the first time that we've seen some different alterations to loading screens. We saw one for the Giant, or as of the time it was released, Doris. We saw a change in Moon, and this trend is something that's been going on for a little bit now, but there's not any actual real reasoning as to why explained explicitly to us at this point in time. Many people think remasters or remakes of them, which is very possible. We saw it happen with the Giant, and we are promised new content for Black Ops 3 in 2017. I personally would love that, but until we actually get some sort of clarification and some deliberation on the topic, we don't have any word for certain on it, and it's just something that is kind of an afterthought and some speculation at that point. But regardless, there is 100% a change, and almost a massive change in it, for the Ascension loading screen. We saw some subtle alterations once again to the Giant and therefore Doris's loading screen, and additionally for Moon, there was only a few subtle things that were changed around here at this one. But in this Ascension loading screen, pretty much the entire thing is changed up. So that said, let's compare and contrast a little bit with this. Let's take a look at both of them and then do a little bit of explaining as to why this could happen, what we can see here with it, and really just the overall effect of maybe what is happening within the zombie storyline for this. Now, the original displays Dr. Gersh, the launch pads, and the missiles from Ascension. We see a barred cell, and we see what is once again presumed to be Gersh in a sort of like Ascension state here with it. But this is presumably just whenever he got stuck in the Gersh device, whenever he actually was being transported, and this actually will come back to this specific thing in a second, but this is usually showcased to show off a little bit of interdimensional travel, intertime, and space travel that we've seen throughout the zombie storyline with the multi-dimensions, the different realities, and all that kind of stuff that has been broken up into the zombie storyline. But now if you take a look at the brand new one, instead of Gersh, you have Dr. Monty. You have brand new rockets with a different schematic underneath. You have Samantha looking into a gobblegum machine rather than an empty cell, and you have a keeper in this interdimensional travel state, which comes back to, once again, that theory of interdimensional travel. That is how the keepers get around. That is what they're known for. So it makes perfect sense if they were to be in place here instead of Gersh, but we still don't know exactly why. But let's take a look a little bit at this new loading screen for Ascension, and let's break it down a little bit here for it. So the first panel is Dr. Monty instead of Gersh sketching something here with it. And it is a schematic like we saw in the original, but instead of this, the brand new theory is that Monty is sketching the KN-44 schematic. That is something that came up within the storyline and the life cycle of Black Ops 3 that is kind of proposed to be this tesseract to kind of explain the higher dimensional power of the Aether, the Keepers, Dr. Monty, and all this stuff that we never really thought about before in the zombie storyline. We always thought about it being just one crazy German versus another crazy German and everybody else caught in the crossfire, but instead it offers this higher dimensional being, this higher dimensional power that really takes a lot to grasp, and especially to our characters, somebody in the 3-dimension, how can they understand a 4-dimensional concept and reality if they've never seen the 4th dimension, if they live in the 3rd dimension? It's kind of like if you were to be a line on a piece of paper. You can't actually take any concept of height because there is no such thing as height when you're a straight line on paper. Whenever you bring, say, a cube onto that paper, and if you're that line, you can't really distinguish anything except for that bottom level that is on the same level as the paper. You can't derive any meaning from the height behind it, and so the Tesseract and the KN-44 schematic kind of offers this to our characters, where they have this slightly higher understanding of what is going on within the world and the universe around them, but they can't necessarily grasp it in its entirety because of the differences in dimensions. Now, the side side of this schematic that Dr. Monty is supposedly drawing, it does look a little bit different than that of the KN-44 schematic, so that is where this is kind of now dividing the community a little bit within this, so it's actually quite interesting to see what it could be. Maybe we'll get more in time, but right now it's an interesting thought to take a look at Monty being the architect of this universe, this world, a larger role than we may have anticipated previously. The next one we see is the different rockets and a different schematic underneath it. Now the rockets are not actually the ones from Ascension, but instead are the ones from Der Eisendrache, the ones that you can see right above the Pack-a-Punch and all that good stuff, the ones that are off in the distance. It is these ones, and therefore the ones that blow up the moon and alter the course of that timeline in its sense. And so the timelines have kind of shifted here with this, and this is just a little representation of that. Additionally, though, we don't actually have 115 in the shadows in the background. That was a little Easter egg that was from the Ascension loading screen back in the day. It's not something that is here now with this brand new one, and whether or not that's intentional, obviously it is, it was designed to be as such, but if it has any story implications rather, that's something that is really all up to speculation once again here with this. Below it though, is in fact one of the schematics from the dragons of Grod Krovi. We saw a lot of these hidden around, and one was in Zetsubo no Shima, I believe, to kind of hint at where we were going next in the zombie storyline whenever DLC 2 just came out. Everybody got all these little Easter eggs and theories and little hints towards what we were going to next, and Grod Krovi did an absolutely fantastic job with tying in Ascension, the Ascension group, and slightly resolve the storyline of Gersh, though not entirely. The way that that worked out was the fact that during the Easter egg, Gersh thought he was going to be freed from the void that he was in, that being the Kashmir mechanism, and he was finally going to be freed here, and though we don't know exactly what happened to him, there was some little resolution from what we got in Ascension. That being that Sophia was the one that was extracting information from him in what she called the most painless way possible, even though in the Easter egg, Gersh can be heard absolutely screaming in pain and agony. So his status right now is left unknown. We don't know if he's dead. We don't know if he's still out there in a different dimension, trapped in the mechanism a little bit further than what we thought previously, or if there's some other loophole out of this, or maybe he's alive and well somewhere hiding on an island with Elvis and all them. But whatever it may be, his storyline was only slightly resolved, so Grod Krovi was definitely a major tie-in with Ascension, and therefore the dragon schematic once again is quite important to that overall. Then we have Samantha looking into the Gobblegum machine, and this is one thing that I think can be derived and taken into a lot of different consideration with this. It's all personal speculation and theory, but this, instead of the empty cell, could potentially just mean and showcase where we previously thought that Samantha was the one in charge and really in the Aether was controlling everything, and that was the source of the conflict with Richtofen and Maxis. But it almost looks as if she's looking at the Gobblegums in absolute confusion, maybe herself even thinking that she was this all-powerful being in the Aether, but instead looking at the creations that Dr. Monty has had. That is something that might be a little bit of an eye-opener and a wake-up call that maybe there is something actually above all this. Maybe something is being acted upon with an outside force. I don't know. That is an interesting little way to look at it, I think. But finally, the last thing is the fact that there is a keeper once again in the place of the silhouette of Gersh, and in this interdimensional travel, simply just showcasing and explaining the interdimensional travel of the keepers, the Apothecons, and pretty much everything in that fourth dimension. So it's an interesting little way to look at it. Now, as again, where does this all point to? What is the end game with this? Because this is not the first time that we've seen this. I couldn't tell you. I don't have a specific answer. I don't think anybody does. A lot of people may think that it's DLC 5, which I would love to see. I would love to see some remasters for a zombies map and all that with a DLC 5 later on in the year. And as we are promised more content within 2017 for Black Ops 3, is it something that's possible? It might be. It's not something that I would entirely rule out. We've never seen a developer come straight out and say, you know what, we're going to be continuing putting out content for you guys throughout the next year, even though it's not our main year. So is it something there could be room for another first here within this? I think so, but I don't want to say definitively yes or no at this point. But regardless, no matter what way you spin it, it is interesting to see that there are different alterations made to these loading screens, first being the giant hors d'oeuvres, and then to the moon loading screen, and then now finally here within the Ascension loading screen. It's definitely interesting. It could hint to maybe DLC coming in the future, since we have seen remasters or remakes of one of these maps already, and I guess it is possible therefore as a result, but it also could serve as simply simply a way to tie up loose ends, to finish and resolve some storylines that we might have a little questioning left to do at the end of the day with Black Ops 3's finale. That said, with this entire comic going back and trying to fill in some plot holes with the transit crew, create some of the backstory with that, the canon and the lore behind that, and also at the same time explain a little bit of what's going on in the Zombies universe, maybe that's all it is. Maybe we're thinking a little too hard at this, and maybe we're not going to be expecting any maps coming as remasters, remakes in this next year, but I definitely think it's very interesting to see, and therefore I'd love to hear your thoughts here down there in the comment section down below. That's going to wrap it up. Drop your thoughts down there. Do you think we're going to be getting remakes of maybe Ascension and Moon in the coming months here with this as a result of the alterations to their loading screens, and that we saw one way back before the release of Black Ops 3, even to the Darius and the Giant remake with that, the correlation between that? Do you think it's something that's possible to happen here with this, or do you think it's just simply something filling in plot lines, plot holes, and what we can see with the alterations to the canon and the storyline as a whole that Black Ops 3 set into motion? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts here on all this. I think it's fascinating and incredibly interesting for all this, so drop your thoughts. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything Black Ops 3, Zombies, anything Call of Duty related, all that good stuff. We got you here covered on the channel. Thank you dudes so much for watching. My name's been Nikolai Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Hope you guys are having a great day. Take care and peace.